Hello, LEGO fans, and welcome into a brand new episode of Brick Hour Time Capsule. I am JJ, otherwise known as Langster Builds over on Instagram.
I am Cameron, otherwise known as Cameron Studios.
And with us today to talk about this month's special topic for Time Capsule is none other than our returning guest and good friend of the show. Please welcome Bricklicker back.
Hello, thank you for having me on again. It's a
Thanks for
pleasure.
coming back.
Yes, sir. We are very happy to have you back and to talk about one of your favorite themes as well.
Yeah, it's one that I don't feel is talked about too much these days, so it's nice to speak about it after what's been like quite a long time now, really.
It has been a
At
little bit.
least 10 years, I think it has. It's probably our
Yeah,
newest
something like that.
theme we've done on here, actually.
I think video might have been
Oh,
the most
video.
newest one. Yeah.
Well, that was
Um,
that was video. No one
we
remembers
can
video.
rightfully forget about video. So, if for those who are not aware of how the format of the show works, Time Capsule is broken up into three parts. We're going to talk about what this theme, Nexo Knights, was in its original conception, kind of just talk a little bit about the overview of it. The next part, we're going to go over to brickset.com. We're going to take a look at a bunch of sets that were in that theme. Some highlights, not everything. This was a fairly expansive theme with a lot of sets, and we don't have all day to go over everything. And then we'll end with talking about the overall legacy of Nexo Knights, how it was received, how people enjoy it, how it's looked at now, and why it was canceled or discontinued, if we have that answer. So to start off, Bricklicker, I will pitch this to you to just kind of talk about the overview of Nexo Knights a little bit.
Yeah, so I think it started I think it was the big thing that they launched at like the start of 2016.
Mhm.
So it was perceived as Lego's big new thing. Like they were putting all the effort into this thing, loads of marketing. Like we often see these days when they try and launch a big theme with like dreams. But this was basically like a castle theme, which was like tied to technology. And there was like, I think there was like 5 or 6 nights. And then it went on for a good, I think it was like 2017 or 2018 that we got the final wave. So it had quite a good run, I'd say.
It definitely did. I remember when it first got revealed, I kind of like, I remember remembering how just in your face the builds were in terms of the color. Like they really
Mhm.
went back to that like ice planet blue with trans neon orange kind of color scheme. I loved the look a lot of the sets color wise and just how visually interesting a lot of them were.
Mhm. I think what stood out to me was it was a cool newish concept on the classic castle theme
Mhm.
by like mixing that futuristic castle theme together, and it actually looked really cool. And to see how some of the modern technology mixed in with the classic weapons of like swords and everything like that, how it all came together, it looked like a really fun theme.
They also had one of
Yeah.
the go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say quickly about like the figures look really good, like new and fresh, and like the villains as well. It was like a really good mix of everything coming together. Like felt like a really bold concept.
I also really loved the concept of the shields and how the
Yes.
shields had like the interesting looking like I don't know, is it like pentagonal shapes? I guess that was what that would be.
Mm.
And they each shield had a different like power up tile that would fit into it that would basically give that specific knight a different ability that they could use. And I loved that idea, and the fact that you could swap them out of the shields and kind of create an army with them was a really fun idea. And it made a lot of the sets very collectible because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe every tile was in like they were all in one set. They weren't scattered throughout like there wasn't like two or three they were in multiple sets. I don't believe so. I could be wrong with that, but I liked that collectability factor of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think they did where there was maybe like a couple that were exclusive to one set, and
Mhm.
then they had like tons of like random ones which were in like you could get them basically in any of them. So even if you bought the entire wave, you still not might not have every shield. So
Oh
then you
wow.
still have to like try and if you want to complete the collection, I think there was so many of them, it would be hard to, but
Mhm.
it didn't make it easy basically.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that I really liked, like when I was looking through this theme, was it wasn't so one-sided. Usually, when you get like a theme from like a Lego specific theme, like their own IP, you usually get bigger, better good guy sets. I feel like it was pretty even between the good and evil. Like you had some really fun, interactive, impressive evil side builds, and then some good side. Like it was pretty evenly matched up, and I feel like you don't see that as much anymore. Like you still get some good bad guy sets every now and then. Dreams, I know. JJ, shut up. But I feel like Next Nights is one of those themes that really kind of evened the playing field on both sides, where you had impressive builds on both sides.
I agree.
Yeah, and they didn't like keep it to one like so like they'll do really big sets for the villains as well. They won't just keep it like the little budget ones, which they often do these
Hmm.
days. Like they'd really go out for like all the different price points.
No,
Oh yeah.
definitely.
Before we get into looking at the sets themselves, I just want to read the actual overview of the theme itself. So the overview is in a medieval but futuristic world, young knights Clay, Aaron, Lance, Princess Macy, and Axel are tasked with protecting the kingdom of Knighton from Jestro and the army of lava monsters. The evildoers are searching for magic books. With each one they acquire, they become more powerful. Jestro uses the strength he gains from the books and his minions to capture knights to make it easier for him to attack the king's castle. It's all part of Jestro's ultimate plan of defeating the king and taking over Knighton as the land's new ruler. Pretty self-explanatory. I think the only thing about this that was a little kind of like, okay, we've seen this before, is you have the different characters in the similar-ish sets of armor that were different colors, very Power Rangers-esque, or in Lego terms, very Ninjago-esque. But again, it works. Don't like it was very smart of them to do something like that. And doing the different color schemes makes everything very visually enticing
Mhm.
for people of all ages to go and enjoy those sets.
On paper, it worked, but we'll get more into that later.
Correct.
So I
So
think
going,
it's time for big screen mode.
yeah, let's take a look at some sets now a little bit here. And there's a few off the bat that I think we definitely should start with once we get into that.
I'm excited because it's like a trip down memory lane almost.
Mhm.
Even though it's not been too long, it just feels like it's been a long time
Yeah, I
since
mean,
I've properly seen these.
we're going back to 2016, almost 10 years now. So
It has
Yeah,
been a
that's kind of
while. It's been that
crazy.
long.
this is one of the only Nexo Knight sets I actually owned. I got it as a gift with purchase at Toys R Us.
So scrolling down a little bit here to start, I think the one we should start with, unless anybody has any sort of well, you know what? We can talk a little bit about the two smaller ones, like these little like
Hmm.
polybag things. These were really strong builds, in my opinion. I loved the look of that Knight and Hyper Cannon. I just think that's a really cool looking build. Like that to me looks like a Star Wars Battle Pack side build.
It
And,
does.
like that's what I get the vibe of that.
I also love the helmets that came with these guys.
Yes. Um, but scrolling down a little bit more, we'll find some other stuff. Um, I think we should start by looking at
Like I say, this one was actually a pretty cool looking horse mech.
that is a cool one.
And like they
Yeah,
even give you
really,
little
like
dummy
all the
builds.
first wave was just so much like good value and just so many good figures and good build. Like I feel like the first wave, like for me, was like the best of the actual theme what it offered.
I would agree with you on that.
Mhm.
I think we should look at Clay's Rumble Blade to start,
And
Cam.
like I gotta agree with you from what you said earlier, JJ, of this being similar to like Ice Planet, but like I feel like it's like
Hmm.
an Ice Planet versus a child-friendly version of the Urkai from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Um,
But like you get some great villain builds here. Like
yeah,
this reminds me of
that's
Rock
a cool one.
Raiders.
Yeah, it does. That's a cool one. Yeah, Clay's Rumble Blade. And I know you love that, so I think we take a second to talk about this for a minute. This build is just like it's a tank that also doubles as a sword. Like that's actually a really cool idea for a side build for a build itself.
So you got the sword here, which is a ship in
Yeah, and then you
itself.
you can split it all apart as well. So there's
Hmm.
so much that value with it.
Yeah, the
And I
two
think
small
what,
here, and then I think these two split up as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
for me, one of the best parts about this set is that, at least in my opinion, is sometimes when you do like combiner sets, they don't always look great because you have to have that function where they split apart. This, I think, looks really good combined together and separately. Like these
Hmm.
all could work really well. Like the sword plane could very well just be its own set in itself.
There you go. That is really fun.
That is
And this
really
is always
fun.
the set I always wanted. Like I even considered buying it before we did this episode just so I could have it.
Mhm.
One, there is no new one in the United States, and I didn't
Yeah.
feel like buying it used. So like I don't necessarily need it, but it was always such a cool to look at. And like I love the upper torso pieces
Yes, the
and like
armor is really
great
cool.
helmets.
Yeah,
And
the
then
figures in
was
this look
this
great.
new molded for this theme or was it used before?
That was a new mold, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I think a lot of like all the armor pieces and like the head pieces were all pretty much new. I think.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, they all were. I love the look of the lava villains too. Like they had really intricate looking armor. The armor actual pieces, the printing looked great. And there
Hmm.
was enough like very like variability between them to where they all don't look super samey. They all very much have a nice uniqueness to them, which I think added to how cool they were.
Hmm.
Let's get back to the main listing though, because the next Jestrel's Evomobile is actually sick. I'm not gonna lie. I love this thing. And one of the main points of this first theme that I really loved was the mecha horses
Hmm.
and the fact
Oh
that
yeah, you
like
could like yeah, you could collect them all for like the different
yes,
sets.
they were all the same build, just different colors depending on who was riding them. Um, I love the look of the Jestro figure, but the fact that this is a giant like two-wheeled chariot that's getting pulled by some like flying lava demon is just it's just wicked cool.
Hmm.
It was also like really good value as well.
Yes. Again, like the prices for this. I mean, this was
$60.
$60 when it came out. Like that's a really good. And how many parts are in it, Cam, from we see from the side?
658.
That's pretty good. Like you don't see like you're not gonna see something like that. Now, Lance, I think, was the coolest of the regular like knight figures that wasn't Axel, but I think his like faceplate just looks super classic. I loved him. Jestro looks great.
I just
Um,
realized he has like the same color scheme as our logo.
yeah, he kind of does. There's one of the books that was mentioned in the overview. That's
Hmm.
cool. And the shields, like the shield designs,
Yeah,
they are huge, but I think they're like, I think
it
it's fine
works.
that they're giant. That doesn't matter to me. That's cool. Um,
Oh, I love the eye here.
yeah, that looks that the big buildable like monster figures in this were also really strong,
This is
really
a
strong.
minifigure head, right? It looks like
Yes,
it is because it's the same helmet as like from before.
yes, it is. Going to the next set I want to take a look at quickly is the Fortrex because this was the set that made me look at this theme and go, this might have legs. You basically just put a castle on tanks, like made a castle tank. And I think this is a genius idea for a theme like this, like a techno castle theme is to basically put a castle on treads.
It was so it's such like the perfect like basically flagship set for the theme.
Oh
Because I
yeah.
think you got like quite a lot of the like main characters as well, like as
Yeah,
part of it.
because Clay, Aaron, and then let's take a second to talk about Axel because this was his figure is just nuts. How he has regular minifig legs and this giant souped up body. And we really had never seen anything like this before outside of like Ninja Turtles when that was happening because they had a
Mm.
couple figures that had some bigger torso stuff like this. But like I still see people now being like, "Hey, why didn't they just give the thing from the Fantastic Four set like an Axel torso? Like, why couldn't they have done that?" So I think this made Axel super unique and also very collectible and desirable.
The only problem was that it was like super top heavy. So because of all the weights and
Yes,
like the shoulders,
Oh,
it like you can't really stand over too easy.
he's only going for $7 roughly. Wow.
That's quite good.
that's actually kind of
448 in
surprising.
Brooklyn. Wow.
He's that inexpensive.
This one
Um,
was in three sets, so it makes sense. But I mean, like Bricklager, were these like all of the Nexo Knights sets? Like, how much did you own within all Nexo Knights?
I think from the first wave, I think like maybe all but like one or two sets. So like I really went all in on the first wave.
What would you say was your favorite set of all of the first wave?
I'd say with the four trucks or the rubble blade that we just talked about, or also the one, you know, the one with the lava like the hands. I think it's just further up on the page.
can you go up a
Um,
little bit higher, Cam?
Oh,
Up higher.
yeah, yeah,
That
that
one
one there,
right
the
there.
lava smasher, that one, because when you basically ran it along, they'd like go up and down, so it was a nice feature.
okay.
Yeah,
See,
that
now
is
that's
pretty
that's
Yeah,
a
cool.
you can
really
see
fun
that.
play feature. And like I'm noticing within like all these sets, like you're getting some really fun play features, like some cool armor pieces that seem like they're new molded.
Yeah, and you had like the collectible books. I think was in pretty
Hmm.
much every set as well.
Oh, that's a trans clear piece with a sticker. Wow.
That is pretty cool.
Oh, look at that crossbow.
I liked the weapons. I like how each of the knights kind of had their own style weapons. Like Aaron was all about like he had like crossbows and stuff. Axel was all axes. Shocker. Um, Lance obviously had like a lance. Macy was all about maces, and then
Hmm.
Clay was basically like your classic sword and shield knight, which was cool. It gave them each a different identity, which I think was good. Moving on though, because I think there's one farther down, a little bit farther down for year one or in year one that was pretty sweet.
This is the
Um,
last one, the Vortex.
I
what was
think
that?
they came out in January. Then these ones are like came out in the summer. So from the global one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, these retired in July of 2017. That's wild. They won a year and a half. Interesting. Macy's Thunder Mace was cool.
Oh wow.
Um,
Like like the fact that their weapons are also their vehicles is really cool.
yeah, the fact that it was a giant flying crossbow was pretty sweet. What is yeah, the Siege Machine of Doom is also sick. Like I kind of love this thing.
You can like you can like transform it up and down, and then the figures are really good in it as well.
Yeah, the figures are really good in this
Oh
one.
wow.
Like like it looks like that, but it also folds up like a classic like medieval siege machine.
Hmm.
Awesome. And this is Cam, kind of what you were talking about earlier, is the fact that the hero vehicles are super beefed up and bulky and big, but so are the villain vehicles. Like there was equal attention given to both, which I think was smart. Yeah, the robo horses are sick. The fact that they used like a motor, like a dirt bike piece, but it's flipped backwards is genius. That's a really great part usage
Oh
there.
wow.
Um, Axel's tower carriers is a little bit farther down. That one's also pretty sweet. Um, that one's cool. Just kind of a generic tank looking thing with the giant defense tower build, but color scheme. Like I like that all of these vehicles are the same-ish color scheme, but they have little like I want to say sub colors, but like smaller like accent colors that match the knight
Hmm.
characters that they went with.
Such fun
Yeah,
looking
like just like that
molds.
dark blue color with like the black is really nice.
Yes, it pops. It really pops. Um, the Jestro Castle's cool. The volcano base.
Volcano Lair. Wow, look at that thing.
That was good because this was like the biggest set of the first year, I think, and then they did it for like the villains as well.
Yep.
Is that supposed to be the sword?
No, it's like a big. I think it's supposed to be a big mace.
Oh. I love the freaking molds that they did for all like the medieval helmets. Like it looks like a classic helmet, but it's also like,
Souped up.
yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool.
there's another horse for you, JJ.
Yep. Yeah, the ins like like just the fact that this volcano base is as big as it is for the value, like the price point of it was pretty solid. Like the fact
120
it
for
was
1100
120.
pieces.
Yeah, like that's a really solid deal. That's really cool.
Yeah,
And
because
for
there's like a lot of figures and a lot of like big pieces as well.
oh yeah, a ton of big pieces. You get obviously Axle gets included, so that counts towards it a little bit. And it's just super playable. Like it's just a big giant play set that you realistically don't see as much anymore.
I love that the book got a part of the minifig lineup.
Yeah, that is kind of
I mean,
funny
it's because he
actually.
like it was just quite like a big character, like the book could talk and things.
Oh, he's on the minifig part though. That's too bad. But these are just all fun looking builds. Like I feel like this is the
Yes.
perfect way for 6 to 12-year-olds, honestly, because like the imagination you could like the battles you could do between both sides is just so fun.
I know Murloc's library attached to the back of the Fortrex. That was a cool feature of this set.
Does it show it? I wonder. I'd love to see what
I
that looked like.
think it does.
I think you like had to open the back of it up, and then once it yeah, when
Yeah,
it was
there it
opened
is.
up, you could
Oh,
then attach it
that's
on.
cool. For especially for a wave 6 months later, like I'm glad this like you don't see that often. Like you'll see sets combine released at the same time, but not different waves.
Mhm.
The Black
Um,
Knight mech is really
Black Knight mech
fun.
was sweet. I loved this one. Just another cool, interesting build.
King's
King's
mech.
mech, yeah. This
Yeah,
one,
Love the
this is a good
king.
one.
like the fact that like you get the King minifigure, which is sweet, and then you also get like I loved the sword build for this. I like that classic sword build is just cool, and I also like the fact that the shield also doubled as a small craft for the little like micro knight to
Hmm.
fly around in, which was sweet. And again, $30 for this, really good value for what you're paying for.
Especially when you get like the king minifigure as well, with like the sword and the shield as well.
Yes, and one of the things I like about this theme, they were not afraid to scatter named characters throughout the various sets. Like King Halberd is in this, and this is only $30 set.
And it's the
Like
only set he's in.
yeah, and sometimes you would see like, oh, we're gonna take this kind of desirable character and throw him in the most expensive set as a draw for that one. You see a lot of themes do that.
Velma.
Yeah, with yeah, Scooby-Doo with Velma. The Eternals theme did that with a couple figures. Like they put them in the most expensive set. That was it. You see things like this. I like these. I don't love them though.
Hmm.
Um, like this was in my eyes, this was Nexo Knights' attempt at doing speedors. Oh, not speedors. Like spinners, which cool. Like you give them like the souped up mech arms, and you get the different
It's
shield
also different
tiles.
packaging that they did.
Yeah, and it was an easy way to get those like main characters that are very inexpensive, like $10 for that. You get a bunch of cool stuff. Like that's cool. Like
Yeah, and because the armor's like trans-clear, when you got all the knights together and lined them up, it looked really good. When you like collected the whole sub theme of like these action packs.
yeah, that looks really cool actually. Mace, like the fact that Macy has a giant six shooter stud shooter in her back is like nuts. Like it almost looks like there's no chance that figure stands up on her own without being pinned to that, but it's just kind of cool they did
Hmm.
that. Um, Ultimate Aaron, cool. I almost bought this back in the day just to use the armor piece as like a Green Lantern construct, but I ended up not doing that. Um, the spring-loaded shooters look ridiculous,
The little
but
kid.
they look. It's just cool though. And then they gave the villains their own, which was cool. Like you really didn't see that except for like from my knowledge, like the first year of um Ninjago was when that happened.
Yeah, and they were like really good designs as well. They didn't just go with like the generic ones, they went with like unique characters.
Yeah, they
Unique
gave everybody
characters, unique
yes.
molds. I mean, like the fact that you got extra legs here for this one,
You know,
because
like
like
the
that's just a
spider
really
legs.
cool looking villain,
Yes.
honestly.
And I think
Really
each
cool
one
looking
came with
villain.
like a exclusive shield piece as well. So like the actual design that you add to them, the shield like backing.
Yep.
Could you imagine though, like if these ended up becoming like factions within Castle in general, like we're seeing the release of like the 3-in-1 Castle. Everyone's wanting to get the two factions in there. Like imagine if these were factions instead of like these got caught up with the factions. It'd be just insane today.
I think if they released them these days, they probably would do to like capitalize on the hype more.
Yeah. I think this theme would have been way better nowadays.
Oh, for sure.
Axel almost looks like I like the flame yellow, like the
Hmm.
flame yellow color they did for him. He almost looks too plain. I think it's because his souped up torso almost looks better with the chrome with like the chromy color with the extra highlight colors.
Hmm.
He just feels like a giant yellow blob to me.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. Like I like the like as Bricklicker mentioned before, like all the trans color pieces on each of these
Yes.
characters. It adds like a different element for like the
Yep.
ultimate version of them. Like this one getting like all the white and trans clear pieces, little Kraken.
Yep. So scrolling down, let's keep on going a little bit here so we can get to wait year two. I think year two is next, right? Yeah,
Yep.
2017.
They
Small
Cool.
released a lot in the first year. To be, if it does, must have been at least like 15 different products for the first year, if
Hmm.
Yeah,
not
there
more
was a
than 20.
lot.
Hmm.
You're right. There was a ton in year one. Like they really went hardcore. And there was the TV show that was with it too, which was cool.
Right. On top
Again,
of like
that
all the magazine gifts that we did not have in here because that would just make this list way too long.
yes. Keep scrolling down though. We'll kind of skip through some of these. Um,
Got new villains this year.
yeah, the stone army villains were cool. And the fact they also updated the knights like armor pieces looked cool. This is
Yeah, they added
scheme.
in like the trans orange to match with the new like vehicle color scheme.
Yes. I think these villain vehicles look more visually interesting because you have that dark gray with the purple. I love that color scheme with the sand blue. That color scheme just pops so
It's
well.
a
I
color
love the way
scheme
it
you don't
looks.
see too often, and it works
No,
perfectly. I believe this is a queen, if I'm not mistaken.
it is, yes.
Wow. He's still smiling big. Wow, that looks like
Yeah,
a
they went
very
like crazy with the printing.
this is a very demented oh, what's her name from Harry Potter?
Oh God, Bellatrix.
Bellatrix. That looks like a very demented Bellatrix.
Continuing on though, the
Like the
Three
three
Brothers was
brothers.
cool.
Like that's just such a like that is just a cool vehicle.
And like three great figures as well.
Oh yeah. Clay's Falcon Fighter. This is another really cool look. Like, is just a plain build. Great. To me, the highlight of this set is the giant stone wing demon. Like, I just
Hmm.
love like, I think one of the strongest points of Nexo Knights was the big brick built like buildable monsters. Like, they just looked so good.
They did mechs before mechs were cool.
Yep. Jestro's headquarters thing. That's another sweet looking build.
And like it's all villains that we're saying that about. Like all the villain vehicles are amazing. Like you don't see
Mhm.
a big villain vehicle with a small hero villain usually, a hero vehicle usually.
Yeah, these are
And
cool.
they're all like the big sets as well of the
Yeah,
theme, rather than just like the cheaper one.
I love these molded pieces for the wings here.
the wings. Yeah, another cool one.
Oh, now we got a hero set.
Yep, Axel's Rumble Maker. This is cool. This gave me like Power Miners vibe, which was
Hmm.
cool. Like again, more Power Miners the better. Um, the Rock Climbers are good. This almost looks like a vehicle Lloyd would have in Ninjago, but
It
again,
looks like Power
strong
Miners
wheels.
as well with like that
And
green.
I forget his name. The gray like villain figure with the crazy head. Oh, what is his name? Oh my God. Yeah, Lord Kraken's Skull. This figure's sweet. Like, how cool is that?
The mold is crazy.
The head mold is nuts. The cape, the fabric piece for the cape is another
He's
great
going
art
for
usage.
125 bucks new.
Yeah, he's just a really cool looking figure.
And the set's
Um,
going for 208. Oh my God.
yeah, probably because he's in it. So keep on scrolling here.
Like look at this monster. Like it's such a smaller looking build, but it works perfect. Look at the skull molded piece.
Mhm,
They put a lot of effort into this theme.
there was. And then there's the Stone Colossus of Ultimate Destruction. This is probably one of the best sets of the entire theme.
You think
Just
so?
yes. It's just it's like a big monster play set. Like it's sweet. And the fact that you have this larger than life, like just again, big monster, and the legs had prison cells in them, and the crown on his head was you could put a figure in there, and the arms all had functionality. It was a huge, giant playable play set. It had a handle on the back so you could grab it and fly it around. Like again, awesome. 70 bucks for this too, not a bad price. Especially for what you got for 785 pieces. That's a perfect price.
Oh,
Especially when you got like all the molds, like specialist molds on the figures, like the big fabric pieces, the like
Mhm.
larger elements in their legs as well. Like it's pretty
Correct.
good value.
Correct.
what happened to Jestro?
He went really bad. That's what happened to him. The stone clay, that was a nice little bit from the TV show. That was really cool and a good part of the story.
One little guy.
Yeah, the little like Brickster monsters. And then we get Knight and Castle. This is another this was this in my opinion matched up perfectly with like Jestro's volcano base, like another really cool like you could put these against each other and it would look sweet.
Like
Yeah,
that is a
You got like them
fortress
cool
right
like
there.
trans clear elements as well that like really makes it pop.
yes, 100%.
So this is
Um,
where our Ice Planet team got all their trans orange from.
Probably for the collab build that they did. Yeah, the cool like again, more of the shield parts. In fact, that big ship is there, like docked in the front. Is there a picture of Merlin, the big Merlin mech, or the big Merlin
Uh,
robot that there was? I think it's in the main page. Yeah,
oh,
that's
yeah, I
a
see it.
cool like the fact that Merlin was a hologram up until now, and now you actually have him as like an actual like buildable like mech robot is cool.
It's just insane the number of figs you get with these sets. Like this set retail for 130 and you get 11 minifigures, 9 unique to this set. That's just
Hmm.
insane numbers nowadays.
Really good value.
You'd have to get the Bugle or the Avengers Tower to get that minifigs now,
Yeah,
and for
really good
triple the
value.
price.
Plus, there's like so many like specialized pieces as well. There's not just
Correct.
like simple. They're like big pieces and like hard to make ones.
And the
Like
trans clear pieces.
the castle doors, the futuristic like castle wall, like the big dark blue parts for that, the huge like orange wedges, the trans orange swords, like a lot of large parts that make up a lot of this, and it makes it. This feels like the perfect hybrid of newer style playset and like the older style playset where they used a lot of big pieces to take up space and make it larger than it really
Hmm.
felt with the piece count.
Don't forget the
Um,
brick separator. That's a very important piece. And the
continuing,
pig.
yes, continuing on though, we kind of just have some smaller stuff. I don't believe there was anything
Look at that
super
horse.
giant. Yeah, they're a cool horse build for that.
I wonder if Aaron would like this horse build.
Probably not. Keep it on. And then we get the battle. I think the battle suits were some of the last sets we got too.
No, this is
These
still the this is the third wave still.
oh really? Um so Cam, you mentioned this earlier. These are like the Marvel mechs before the Marvel mechs.
Pretty much.
Um I think these are really cool. Like again, each knight gets their own specialized build. Axel's was easily the best for me. I think it's just super unique how he sticks out of it so far, and he has like a whole control yoke up there. The feet are beefy. Lance is second best, mostly because the feet they give him like the roller skate parts, which is cool. And then there's just kind of the Nexo power. Oh, there is some other stuff here, I guess. This thing is cool.
Does
And
this
then
look
yeah,
like another season?
yeah. So season five,
Yeah.
we get into 2018. It's all just like another like bunch of digi guys.
Hmm.
So that's a cool little thing there. The
I
black
think
and
with
the
these ones, it might have been this potentially like the final whip. So I think they were like limited to where they were sold because like the performance of the like 6 months before. So they might
yeah,
have been only at like one selected retailer.
I want to see you're right in that.
I love this color scheme though, with the black and like this trans green. It's just
Hmm
so eye-catching.
Tech Wizard Showdown's cool. That's another really cool mech. The fact that there was a mech inside of a mech is kind of ingenious.
Oh my God.
And then Axel's Rolling Arsenal was the last one. I think this is the best Axel vehicle, in my opinion, of the entire
It's such
line.
like a unique design.
Is that
Yeah.
Jestro on their side now?
Yes, Jestro ends up becoming a good guy partway through the show.
I didn't see it, so I don't know. But
Yeah, it was
like,
really cool.
it looks like vampires almost.
Yeah, they were like digi guys. I forget what like they were like digital villains, which was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I feel like they've gone back to that a couple too many times now throughout the
Mm-hmm.
history of the of Lego's themes.
Such
But
a small wave, which I guess it makes sense. Like, were these not selling well? Was the show not doing well?
so let's get into Legacy now. We can talk about that a little bit. So from the understanding of basically what was reported by various outlets was Nexo Knights was cut short. Was not selling particularly well, so the 2018 winter wave was it. That was the end of it. It was kind of done from there, and those were in fact the last sets we got. It did not last a full 3 years, which was kind of sad. Um, but that's just kind of how it went. I personally feel like Nexo Knights was one of those themes that was just killed by Ninjago. Like, I think if Nexo Knights TV show had caught on and done better, I think the sets would have sold better with younger kids. But I think the problem, in essence, at least with younger fans, is Ninjago's TV show is just a juggernaut, and you try to put anything up against it, it's just not going to work. I think they've learned that lesson since then to an extent, but that's at least my opinion for why people didn't buy it. But in essence, it was basically no people weren't buying the sets. They were not selling particularly well, so Lego pulled the plug before the damage could be increased.
Hmm.
It was still, I think, did it be said that there was like 5 seasons of it though, which I think is quite impressive still, even
Oh
though
yeah.
it only ran for like 2 years in the end. I mean, to get like 5 seasons out of it is still pretty good. Like, pretty successful, even though maybe like the product might have not sold as well towards the end of
Oh,
its lifespan.
a hundred like any TV show that lasts for 5 seasons is genuinely always labeled a success. And I think the next one I show was good. I don't think anyone disagrees it was bad. I think the problem with it in the end was you already had another show that you're basically putting it
Hmm.
up against and trying to run side by side. And when you have a show like Ninjago that's been around so long, that's just been dominating the space it's been in, I don't think Nexo Knights ever had a fair shot.
Mm, I think what ended up, at least from my perspective, from like seeing everything here and a little bit of research I've done, it always followed Ninjago. So it could have been the case where people watch Ninjago and then they just kind of left Nexo Nice on TV. So like it could have gotten decent ratings. But like the set's not selling well. I think with the set's not selling well, I think just from my perspective, I don't know if this is true or not. You two can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm wondering if it's a case where classic Castle fans and just Castle fans in general didn't like these sets because they couldn't use hardly anything from these sets in their castle builds, like in their own mocks, in their own characters. They couldn't use anything from Nexo Knights except maybe the king, but even then, his suit was like tech savvy, you know?
Yeah, and I think as the waves kind of went on, they became less castle based and more just like kind of like
Hmm.
cyber. Like we saw as we went through them, that you start off with like the more traditional castle, then it slowly moves into just more fantasy style, which isn't going to work as well. And I think also in 2017, it would have been like the Ninjago movie year as well. So
Yep.
you've gone from like
Mm.
obviously that would have been taking up all the marketing. That's what everyone of like age range will be looking at. So obviously the first year that got all the marketing, but then second year obviously Nexo Knights fell back because Ninjago movie was like the main thing.
Yeah, and I think piggybacking. I mean, looking at that point first and foremost, I had totally forgotten that the Ninjago movie had come out. I think the marketing for Nexo Knights when it first launched was pretty intense. Like they
Yeah, I
were putting a
remember
lot
it.
of effort into it, and for good reason. It was those were really strong builds. I think Ninjago movie came out. That obviously needs to be your prime thing because you're putting millions of dollars into that. Like
Hmm.
probably you're putting way more to the movie than you probably are the actual launch of the theme. So that becomes a problem. But I think, Cam, I think you're onto something. I think the Castle Builders just, I don't want to say outright rejected, but I think the Castle Builders were very, much less interested in Nexo Knights because they didn't fit into readily established like knights and castle, like medieval layouts of people were building
Right.
things. And I think to Bricklinger's point also, the initial theme is very much based in
Classic castle era type
yeah, like we
shapes.
have siege machines and there's chariots and there's the robo horses and those are cool. And then like but the problem is the further you get on from that initial wave, the less medieval based you get and the more
Hmm.
along the lines of now we're just doing crazy fantastical vehicles that vaguely have the medieval theming besides the fact that there's just a knight flying or piloting whatever vehicle this is,
Hmm.
which I don't think is bad.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
think this theme was not directed at castle builders. So to knock it for that, I think is unfair. Not that we're doing that, but I think
No.
this theme was really interesting and special in its own right.
Hmm.
I think people look back on it very fondly too.
Hmm. It's one of those themes that people probably didn't appreciate it until it was gone.
Mhm.
But then the one more point I have with like tying it to the castle fans, if you release like a Lord of the Rings set, everyone's gonna buy it because they want to use it for their medieval build. Like you release Dungeons and Dragons, everyone's gonna flock to that because they want to bring it into their medieval build. You can't do that with Nexo Knights. So could that have been the cause? Maybe a little bit, not directly, but we hear people talk all the time that they want more of the Axel Fig for other characters, and you're not seeing it. Maybe that's because it's too top heavy, like Bricklicker said. But I feel like Next Knights took a lot of risks and it paid off initially. But I feel like they didn't want to be the one trick pony, pun intended. But then when they tried to move on to like other ideas, those did not hit like the initial wave did. I think that's where it kind of started going down from there.
Yeah, it didn't become like the first wave kind of had a good design language where everything kind of fit together. But then as the waves went on, it went off maybe on too many different tangents and like
Mm,
too kind of wild of a design. So if you're just a casual buyer, you might think it's turned into something else. Or because they were quite different, you might not like what they were doing in the final year compared to the first year.
Mhm.
Where I think these days you see with like homegrown themes, the design language is more like consistent throughout the years. So then it does people can like grow with that or keep collecting it because it's going to display well with the ones that they bought in the first year. It's going to fit with the third year, but I think with this they wouldn't really look too well together. Maybe the figures would, but the builds kind of
mhm,
definitely didn't really gel together.
Yeah, I think that's another good point to bring up. Like when you look at like various vehicles that Lloyd has had from Ninjago or Kai, they're all the same exact color scheme. You can pair them up together really
mhm,
well, and it works. Nexo Knights color wise diverted a bunch. Now, obviously, you update the figures throughout the run, which
mhm,
makes total sense. You don't want to keep releasing the same two or three figures. You want to update them, which is good.
mhm.
I think the problem was I think the color schemes and the basis of some of the vehicles and the sets strayed too far to where, to Bricklicker's point, you can't really like they almost don't feel like they're part of the same theme at times
Yeah.
because they're going off on too many side tangents. Now, the theme is generally well regarded. People do look
Hmm.
back on it now and they do enjoy it. Bricklicker, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because I know you're a huge Nexo Knights fan.
Yeah, I think for me it was the first thing that kind of came along where I was there from the start of it to
Hmm.
see like the launch's big thing. But then it was like perfect because I was into it and like I bought all the first year of sets. But then you almost get fatigued a little bit because you're so into it, and then you buy everything, and then they kind of change. Like I was just mentioning, they change it in the second year. So then you think, oh, maybe this isn't for me anymore.
Hmm.
So I think it's a hard balance to keep people engaged, but you got to try and get new people in, which is hard. But somehow like Ninjago keeps doing it these days. But I think it's hard for like any homegrown IP.
I think, and what I was talking about as like a pro to Next Knights earlier could have maybe played into the downfall aspect of having both hero and villain sets. Kids are going to want to buy the hero set first and then the villain set after. But if they bring a set to their parents, they're going to get the hero set first. Will they necessarily go back for the villain set? Because like no one's going to buy the villain set first, except a few rare ones. Like the last villain one we looked at with like the Rock with like the big wings. That's pretty cool looking. I don't know if anyone's going to buy the villain sets first unless you buy them at the same time as a hero. That could have been a downfall of it. I remember like it's funny because I'm as we do these time capsules, I'm seeing certain themes that I remember growing up on, or sort of remember. This is one of the first episodes where, besides video, I remember this coming out. I remember seeing each wave come out, thinking, "Oh, that's cool. I'm not gonna get it, but it's cool looking." And then like seeing it change every year, and then it kind of disappearing. I was initially surprised back then just how short of a span it was. Looking back during this episode now, it kind of makes sense with like the Ninjago movie going up against Ninjago, the good versus evil, the constant changes each year. It makes sense. Like I said earlier, like they took risks, some worked, some didn't.
Yeah, and I think even if you look at like the license portfolio of like that era as well, you had like the Batman movie as well. You had
Hmm.
like the Angry Birds movie. There was a
Right.
lot of like sets for that age range which are competing against it. And I
Hmm.
feel like you're always going to pick like an IP which is very hot at the moment. Like if there's a movie coming out, I feel like you're more likely to pick that rather than these kind of sets
Hmm.
which feel like more average or like less special. Just to like the average consumer.
Oh, what Star Wars movie came out in 2017? Oh, because Rogue One was 20. Was it Solo?
I think so. I mean, I know like Age of Ultron came out in
That was
15,
before that. Well,
17
Infinity
was
War was
Rogue One.
2017, so that doesn't help it at all.
No.
So again, I feel like if Nexo Knights had been released like 4 years later, it
Oh
would
yeah.
have sold way better.
Four
I
years
think there
later
was
or earlier, honest. Like
I
2016 was
yeah
not the best year for it.
I think that like 2015 to 2020 range was, if this had come out in 2020, it'd probably still be here today, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the people didn't love it at the time because there was way more, there was a lot of other stuff in the public eye that were like IP based, and people going like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I gotta get the sets based on this movie or this show or something like that." Angry Birds, obviously, Star Wars was getting a lot of more consistent releases at that point. Infinity War was about to release. I think if you dropped Nexo Knights in 2020, like right start of COVID, people are buying a ton of Lego. Their sales are going up. People, I think Nexo Knights would have sold incredibly well. I think it, in my opinion, was a victim of poor circumstance. It was just
Hmm.
released at the
Bad
worst
luck.
possible time for it. But again,
Especially these days as well. Like if they did release it in 2020, I think the design quality would be a lot better, and
Oh
like
oh
yeah.
yeah,
they go even crazier on all the molds. Like when we were just looking back through them, like just then you could tell some of them were aged quite poorly,
yeah,
even though it is less than 10 years ago. But you can even like with the mechs, you can see the crazy difference between the mechs we get these days than how like basic they were like only just like 5 years ago.
yeah. I mean, the fact that I think that those final mechs that we got from um Nexo Knights, where they had the actual mech bodies, like those parts are still being used for the Marvel mechs and the Star Wars ones
Hmm.
and certain other ones that are sprinkling throughout. But the fact that they went from the larger style ball joints for aren't for like the big hands and whatnot. And then when you see that kind of style of mech emerge again with the Marvel line and they've got bendable knees and bendable
Hmm.
elbows, and it's
Well,
like,
no more bendable knees and elbows,
well, not
unfortunately.
anymore. But at first, when they went back to that kind of style, they did up they took that base Nexo Knights design and tweaked it, which genius idea. Like
Hmm.
those builds were small and they were inexpensive and they came with cool characters. Why not use them in other themes? Don't just let them go.
Right.
And I think this, I think you're right. I mean, I remember the one set where I always look at it and go, "Ooh, that one really has not aged well." Was Macy's like Thunder Mace, like tricycle looking thing,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
the whole middle of it is just exposed Technic brick, and it just doesn't look right. It looks very unfinished and incomplete through there. I think nowadays they never would have let that fly.
Hmm.
I think as well, one of the biggest legacies that everyone kind of forgets about is the actual shield piece because you think how many times it's used in sets for literally a lot of people still call it the Nexo Knight shield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like they just use it as a tile in like so many sets and for so much detail in like for the past like 10 years now.
it's a part that has that when I remember when it was when the people first saw it, the reaction of that tile is going to be so incredibly useful for mocks
Yes.
once we get it without the print on the front, and then we're when we
Hmm.
get it in like gray or tan or
Dark
colors
red,
like
like all the
that.
different colors to make different, not only like floor builds, but like carpets and wall
Roof,
builds,
roofs,
portraits, roofs. Like
roofing.
it's so versatile.
Hmm.
It's almost like that is Nexo Knights' legacy. Outside of like the cool builds initially, like the Great Wave, that shield piece alone easy changed Lego forever.
Oh yeah, it
Uh,
was a huge way. It was a huge development in mock building that we had not seen before.
I think also as well it kind of doing that unique shape where it leaves the gaps on the sides. It almost influenced like the future design for the tiles as well. Like now we've got all the different angles and like the
Yeah.
where you can basically build really creatively loads of different angles with tiles to create like a square. I feel like without that piece, you wouldn't have had these like different shapes like spring around it.
Oh,
Hmm.
100%. That piece proved that Lego could do different like angled styled parts that could fit together and make these sh shapes that before had been pretty much seen as virtually impossible to recreate without crazy techniques. Now it's
Hmm.
use four of these tiles, you can create that shape really well and it'll work extraordinarily well.
Hmm.
But are there any final thoughts that anybody would like to add to Nexonites before we wrap up? And I will start with our guest before we go to the two of us, Cam.
I'm gonna take it back to the first episode that I was on, and why didn't we get any next one night brickheads? It would have been perfect
That's a,
just to get like
seriously,
That
that's a really good point.
wow.
yeah. Like imagine you
Oh.
got like a 5 or 6 pack with like all the different knights in it. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have sold that well, but it would have been good for the few people
I mean,
who would have
yeah,
bought
because
it.
we got Ninjago ones. Like, were the
Yeah.
Ninjago ones Ninjago movie based or just Ninjago?
Ninjago movie burst, but they were still in that like 2017 era, so it showed they weren't
Wow.
It,
afraid of doing like less popular IPs for brickheads.
well, and it was also during that era when they were doing every imaginable brickhead they possibly could
No,
that one year.
that was
So,
just before. If Next Knights had survived another two waves, we probably would have gotten because 2018 was the year of the Brickhead, and
oh, good
wow.
point. That's true. That
Who
Oh,
would have
knows?
been
They could have
cool.
some cancelled ones as part of the third year, but who knows?
How would they have done Axel? I just think of
Oh,
that
it'd
now.
have
How
been,
would
it'd
they have
be,
done
oh, it
Axel?
would be pretty hard. I
A
don't know. No, they never did Garmadon, did they? But it'd be quite hard.
Axel, I feel like could have been as tall as like the Jeffrey Brickhead, but like they kind of could have like moved the arms up and moved him out a little bit. That would have
He
been a
he he
semi-different
would have been
Brickhead,
built
but
like the Balrog.
yeah, there you go.
He'd have been built like the
Oh,
Balrog.
they did the Hulk as well, where they do like the bigger arm attachments and like make the
Oh
Hulk quite
yeah, the
bulky.
arm
That could
sticking out.
also have
Yeah,
worked
Yeah.
really well.
Oh, that would have
That's a
been
really good point.
interesting. I mean, for the overall legacy, I feel like people remember Nexo Knights fondly, whether they own the sets or not. Like coming from someone who didn't own any except a gift with purchase versus Brick Clicker, who owned the entire first wave. We both respect Nexo Knights as a theme. We definitely appreciate the shield piece. I think it just came out at the wrong time.
I think when I look at Nexo Knights, I think of it. I remember it very fondly. I remember that first wave, especially the four tracks, being like, "Wow, like this is a really unique way to kind of do a castle theme without doing a castle theme." That to that point, those had not sold well. So of course, like let's try a castle but give it a futuristic edge. I think it's a really genius idea, and I think compared to other like Big Bang themes that Lego had done, like when I look at like when people go to like minifig swaps or like you go to like
Mhm.
other stores or like vendors at conventions, you see Nexo Knights figures. People like, oh, I like you're kind of drawn to them. Like it's not, it's like, oh, cool, like Nexo Knights. Like what figures are in here? Because
Mhm.
people still do look to collect them. I think it's different for that one as opposed to like, oh God, there's a bunch of Chima in this bin. I don't want that. Like the Nexo Knights figures are genuinely remembered very well. Like people
Mhm.
remember them, they like them, and I think Bricklayer, also to your point, that that shield tile piece, that's going to be that theme's legacy. That theme will forever be that tile will forever be the Nexo Knights shield tile. It'll always be that. It's kind of like how people look at construction now and they're like, those are Bionicle parts. Like that piece is going to single-handedly just become the one thing that carries the memory of Nexo Knights probably forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's a like if you're gonna have to be a theme that gets retired, that's kind of how you want to be remembered is like you got one thing that carries along and you're just kind of known synonymously as
Something
like
that changed Lego.
I wouldn't say change Lego, but
Well,
something
changed
that
Lego, but
was
like it changed tiles, honestly.
it was such a useful part that it was nicknamed after the theme it came from.
Mhm.
Like that's a pretty good way to go out if you're gonna end up getting discontinued. So I think that's a perfect way for us to leave it off. I would like to thank Brooke Clicker for taking time out of his schedule to come on with us again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure again.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
I can say it was a pleasure having you back on. Um, would you like to pitch where everybody can find you if they haven't already?
Yeah, pretty much YouTube and Instagram, Brick Clicker, basically.
We'll
Cool.
make sure to have that in the description. I mean,
Yep, those will
everybody
be
knows
linked
who
down
Brick
below.
Clicker is. You're the go-to person.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. And you're the go-to Lego podcast.
Oh, thank you for
We're
that.
trying. We're trying.
We try. So if you've not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you are notified when all new episodes do go live. Um, Keep an eye out. So these episodes come out the third Tuesday of every month.
Correct.
So next month is going to be another fun one. We're not going to say what it is yet because we might not know what it is yet. So we'll figure that out when we get there. Um, and then obviously the flagship show comes out every Friday at 2 o'clock. So make sure to find us there. You can also find us on Instagram at Brick Hour Pod. You can find me on Instagram at Langster Builds. We will see everybody in the next episode. Have a great night. Happy building.
Bye.